We have been waiting a long time and we are so excited. Sunday is the premiere of Power Book Force. Joseph Sikora here, the star. We're bringing Tommy Egan back here. Oh my goodness, it's so exciting and so great to see you.
Rudy, it's so great to be back.
I mean, let's talk a little bit about when Power ended and that journey. You know, we see that last scene of Tommy. How soon after that show finished was that conversation of we want to continue Tommy's story?
Well, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson told me basically after the end, right before we ended Power, he said, we need a show about Tommy. We're going to have a show about Tommy. And we went through a lot of different variations of when that was going to happen, how that was going to happen. And ultimately 50 said, don't worry, I promise you, I told you it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I think that there were some near misses, but 50 is a man of his word. And then here we are doing the show a couple of years later. I mean, it's been like 2.5 years, but the hype is so real, man, not only from New York and not only from Chicago, but all over America and really around the world. So people are waiting for this Power Book 4 Force.
Now, we got to chat over the summer with you and your brother Albin when you were filming here in the city. You posted a couple of shots on Instagram of you filming downtown, you filming in some of the neighborhoods of Chicago. Tell me a little bit about the messages and what it felt like to be able to share that you were in your own hometown shooting the series.
Well, to be back in Chicago was really an incredible feeling. I loved the amount of incredible Chicago talent that we had in it. Homegrown talent like Anthony Fleming III, theater legend Guy Van Swearingen. We had Southsiders Chris Lofton, Lucian Cambridge, Ahmad Ferguson. We have some great other theater actors who I've worked with, Cedric Young, who's in it. So the amount of Chicago people, homegrown people that were there is really phenomenal. Also, so much of the crew are born and raised in Chicago or the Chicagoland area that it was just amazing to be there with all of these people. And then to be on streets that I played in when I was, a teenager and young man all over the north side and west sides. It was pretty extraordinary.
I want to backtrack a few moments. As far as 50 Cent, was it his idea as far as we got to bring Tommy's story to Chicago? Was it you that said, we want him to come to Chicago? And how many conversations, was that?
I got to be honest with you. I had no input into it. It was Courtney A. Kemp, the show's creator, and the first showrunner who left the show. They are the ones who decided on it. And when I originally thought about it, when they were like, oh, Chicago, hometown. And I'm like, I haven't lived in Chicago since I was 21, even though I'm always be a proud Chicagoan. You know how we are. But I was like, if it's not in New York, it's not home. So I'm going to have to travel somewhere and be somewhere else. So that was a struggle. That was a challenge. But then once you got there and you see the Sears Tower in the background, you're shutting down Columbus Drive. You're just like, oh my God, it blew me away. There's so many surreal moments.
Now, I did get a chance to see the very first episode. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but all I'm going to say is that if you watched Power originally, you are going to love this series. And even if you haven't watched it, you can easily pick up and kind of find, start with these characters and maybe go back and watch the original series to kind of see a little bit more of Tommy. But I loved it, and I cannot wait to watch the first episode again and continue to watch.
I totally agree, Rudy. You can watch this show and be right in on it. And then when you choose, then you can go back and see kind of like use Power book 1 that they're calling it now as almost as your prequel to see the previous story. But you can start right here, right now, February 6th on Starz. Get the app.
Now, a couple of shooting locations, we talked about that over the summer when we chatted, and we got to see it. California Clipper, one of my favorite bars here in Chicagoland. You guys get to shoot there. I'm not going to say, what's in there, but I recognize the location right away. Such a distinct Chicagoland place. Was that a favorite spot of yours? And tell me a little bit about being in that spot.
It was interesting to see as the gentrification of the neighborhood happened, how the clientele changed. Certainly was a neighborhood, what we would call in Chicago, an old man bar. Back in the day, to see the evolution of that bar was really interesting, and I think really it really is just how it shows the gentrification of Chicago. So certainly we were in Humboldt Park there, we were in West Garfield Park, we were in back of the yards, we were in Washington Park, we were on the north side we filmed in Uptown, we filmed way out in the suburbs in Kenilworth. So we were all over, man. We did a lot, and Chicago is very showcased in the city. Jeffrey Bear would be proud.
There are a couple of scenes where we talk about parking in this first episode. And right now, Chicago's in the middle of a snowstorm. Everyone's got their chairs out. I mean, parking is a big thing here. It's included very nicely in a couple of different scenes in that first episode. Is there any other place that you've ever been to that talks about parking and is so, has such a strong connection to your parking spots other than Chicago?
Never anywhere that I've ever been. And like I said, I haven't had a permanent residence in Chicago since I was 21 years old, which is many moons ago. I always think about Chicago and the various items that are used to secure a spot. And God help the poor person if you touch or move one of those items.
Oh,
and yes, we see that in episode 1.
How did it feel to be able to shoot down, and especially downtown Chicagoland? I mean, there's so many iconic movies, so many iconic TV shows that film downtown, film on Wacker, film on Columbus, and you see all the downtown buildings. But this is your series. You're the title character of it. I mean, not being part of something, but being that title character and being in your own city. I mean, what did that feel like for you?
It was pretty surreal. It was extraordinary. Like just when we were down at the old Meg's Field and looking out at downtown from that really Eastern perspective was amazing and cold. There is no place as cold as Chicago sometimes. I mean, I know there is, but like really nowhere that I've ever been. In fact, when I went to Iceland right before the pandemic, it was colder in Chicago than it was in Iceland, just to put it in perspective. But yeah, there were some really cold moments because Tommy, has a haircut even shorter than this, never wears a hat and is never dressed appropriately for the cold. So I was so unbelievably cold too. But it was just crazy. And even in fact, in bringing up neighborhoods, we even filmed in like Jefferson Park and Gladstone Park, my old stomping grounds. And I got to eat at Phil's Pizza Doro for lunch one day, which you can't get a whole lot better than that. So yeah, there was all of these wonderful feelings. A lot of nostalgia for me, but Rudy, and I think it's important to say, but because I hadn't lived there, I came a month earlier to film before we started filming to relearn Chicago and all of these neighborhoods because I boxed amateur out of Matador's Northwestern Settlement House boxing, Matador's boxing. And so because I was in all these different neighborhoods competing, but then really kind of relearning the city and seeing how the topography of the city has changed and also the mentality of the city, how that has changed in terms of a street point of view, from cops to robbers. I talked to everybody to really relearn the city. So a lot of that is reflected in the Tommy character, who's really learning the city for the first time. So a lot of that is real, head on a swivel, looking at street signs, looking at who's hugging the block, looking at what this neighborhood looks like, what this neighborhood looks like. So it was a big reacquaintance of the city of Chicago for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just you, but I think, especially pre-pandemic, a lot of people haven't been out to their normal spots. Life has changed and neighborhoods have changed. So even if, you live in the city, so much has changed even within the neighborhoods you normally hang out with or your normal, routine, that we're in a different world and it's a different time. And we appreciate you coming here, a month early to get to relearn everything.
Oh, me too. And my stomach thanked me, but the rest of my body kind of didn't, because I forgot how huge portions are in Chicago and how delicious everywhere you eat at is almost, so it's incredible. It's still such a food mecca.
Oh, exactly. And I'm glad you got to go back to your favorite pizza place. Let's talk a little bit about Sunday. What are you doing for the big premiere?
Me and my wife, we're hunkering down. I'm going to get, a couple of cocktails and some of our favorite food. I'll make a dinner. And we will watch the show. I'll be right there on my Twitter, my Instagram account, answering questions, doing some live tweeting, some live feeds. So ask your questions, reach out to me. Let me know what you think. Let me know some of your favorite spots in Chicago and some of the favorite spots that we've passed. Let me know what you think of the show. And I can't wait to have everybody in the city of Chicago and beyond from coast to coast following the plight of Thomas Patrick Egan in Power Book 4 Force.
What does this character of Tommy mean to you, and how did this character of Tommy change your life?
Well, the character has changed my life because I don't think many people in acting get to sit with the character. I mean, we did the Power show for 7 years. The show has been going on because it was 6.5 seasons. Then I was in Power Book 2. Now I got the Tommy spinoff. That's a lot of time to live with a single character. So I really tried to do what David Schwimmer told me to do, and that is stick to the guns, make up the character. Before we started filming in 2013, I stuck to my guns of that character that I made up all the way back then. And I didn't change. I didn't change the character really at all, except through the evolution that you see on screen. That's it. Everything else remains exactly the same to the character. It's the writing that changes. It's the situations that change. But you get to see this same character in those situations because, like he said, if you change at all from day one, second one to any time, then the audience will turn on you and they won't even know why. So that's why I'm sticking with Tom.
That is amazing. Let's take a quick moment and talk a little bit about Ozark. I mean, tell me a little bit about being part of that show and your role. And people are loving it.
Iconic. I mean, it's an iconic show. Again, another Chicago based show. So even though it moves out to the Ozarks, it was, starts obviously in Chicago. My guy, Frank Cosgrove Jr. is kind of the antithesis to Tommy Egan. They're both guys who want to find their way in the underworld. They're both guys who want to move weight in terms of drugs distribution, but only one of them does it right. Only one of them listens to his gut. Only one of them has the instincts, and the other guy is just a mess. But it was a lot of fun playing that character. It was a lot of fun developing that character. I listened to Jason Bateman, who obviously is the executive producer of the show and was the director of the first episode I was in season 3. But the writing on that show is out of this world. The writing is so unbelievably good and complicated. The showrunner, a guy named Chris Mundy, is one of the finest writers I've ever had the pleasure to work with ever in my life. And he's one of the only people that I've ever heard say, I don't know. You have a lot of people who try to know everything, or they try to talk you into a circle so they don't think that they don't know something. He's like, I don't know. Let's look over the material, or let's discover it together. And what a kind, unbelievably gracious and brilliant, and I use that word very, very sparingly, brilliant man. So I'm honored to be part of Ozark, and people are loving Frank Jr. They gave a really great little arc and trajectory of the character in season 4. So you got to check that out too. And I got one other thing I got to talk to you about, Rudy. I got a movie coming out probably in early May called Fear that I did with the great director who was born in Chicago, raised in Gary, Indiana, Deon Taylor, who directed me in The Intruder with Dennis Quaid, Megan Good, Michael Ealy. He also did Black and Blue and Supremacy. Unbelievable. So we're doing the movie Fear. It stars me, Annie Alonso, T.I., Terrence J., King Andrew Bachelor. It's going to be an incredible movie. Goldberg's in it. Cast of characters is huge. Ruby Modine. I could go on, but it takes place in this pandemic. It's scary. It's a thriller. It's a horror. It's just exceptional. And we did it at the beginning of the pandemic. And I can't wait to show you that one, man. And I'll come back on the show to promote too.
That is amazing. Did Deon direct Power Book Force as well too?
Yes. He directed the finale, which when you see episode 10, you will see Deon Taylor in his prime and at his peak. He murders this. He is so amazing as a director in episode 10 that you get to watch this little movie that's our finale before we depart into season 2.
Oh my God, Joseph, I am so happy for you. I can't wait to see you in person and, give you a high five. I mean, this is so incredible. I mean, you have so many wonderful projects, and I'm just so happy for you and all the success.
Yeah, and me and Albin, my brother Albin, we started our own production company that is going to focus on Chicago-based themed projects. So we're going to keep bringing stuff back to the city. We're called Black Fox, and believe me, in the near future, there's going to be plenty of stuff that's going to be rolling through the city with our name on it.
That is amazing. Check him out. Power Book Force Sunday. He's going to be on Twitter and on Instagram answering your questions, going through the series. There's a lot of Chicagoland in there. Go ahead and enjoy it. It's an amazing first episode there, and I can't wait to continue watching the series. And we'll chat soon.
Thank you, Rudy.
Have a good one.